Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
Yes, it's me, the Roadie. Welcome back to yet another episode of Paranormal After Dark. And my special guest, as usual, Mark Wallbank from Paranormal New Zealand.
Hello.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Oh, awesome. Feeling good.
We'll talk about an interesting one tonight. We're going to talk about a talking mongoose. Gef the Talking Mongoose. I know you've actually visited the site of where this has supposedly happened on the Isle of Man. Give us a bit of a background about who the hell Gef was and what the story was, mate.
Oh, it's a great story. It's one that I've been into since I was a kid. I sort of first read about it in some old unexplained mysteries book. And it all happened back in 1931. It was over on the Isle of Man. And it was a place called Cashin's Gap. And it's just basically a farmland. And there was the Irving family had a farmhouse out there and doing their thing out there. And they had a visit one night from a mongoose. And apparently that mongoose could talk. And all sorts of mischief ensued. It started off as a kind of a poltergeist thing. There was lots of scratching, lots of banging, lots of tapping, lots of things being thrown around the house, and they couldn't figure out where it was coming from. But then they saw Gef, who was basically a mongoose or a ferret type creature. And he started talking one day, and he would say all sorts of really sort of cryptic sort of things. Like he just said that he was an extra clever mongoose. He told them that he was an earthbound spirit. He said that he was a ghost in the form of a mongoose. One of his famous quotes was, "I am a freak. I have hands and I have feet, and if you saw me, you'd faint and you'd be petrified, mummified, turned into a stone or a pillar of salt."
So, I mean, what do you make of all this? I mean, we're talking 1931, Cashin's Gap. I mean, describe it. Like, how is it? The middle of nowhere? What is it? Where is it?
It's up on a hill. It's just farmland up on a hill. It's very isolated, and there was just a little house out there. There's nothing left there at the moment. There's like a few bits of rocks and slate and a few bricks where the foundations were, but it's pretty much overgrown, and there's no walls or floor or anything there. It's just a few remnants there that shows that there perhaps was a house at some stage.
Yeah, I mean, a talking mongoose. I mean, like, what do you think? I mean, really? I mean, I know it fascinates you, but what do you really think?
Oh, I love the idea, of course. I think it's fantastic. What intrigues me, though, is that they had numerous investigators go and check out the case, and Harry Price was one of them. Harry Price is a pioneering paranormal investigator who did quite a bit back in the day. He spent quite a bit of time up there with the Irving family trying to investigate it. He heard things, he saw things. He didn't actually see Gef himself, but he saw enough to think that it was a very intriguing and fascinating case and worthy of study. The only thing he could think of, though, was that the daughter, her name was Roadie, was quite a talented ventriloquist. It's just a natural talent that she sort of picked up as a kid. And it's thought that she could throw her voice and she was making this mongoose appear to be talking. That was the only explanation he could think of, but the only problem with that theory, though, is that the mongoose would talk when she was in the room and when she wasn't even in the area. It would be talking through the walls, things like that. There was just sort of things that didn't make sense. Later on, Harry Price ran out of ideas, and he called up Nandor Fodor, who was another paranormal researcher who's done a lot of psychic research. And he looked into it and spent time there as well. And he was very skeptical about it. He didn't want to be fooled, but he couldn't really explain it. He wanted to believe that it was a hoax because it just seemed so far-fetched and, that it was obviously some sort of hoax, that it was too good to be true, basically. But none of them could explain it. And then Gef just basically disappeared. He disappeared one night, didn't come back, so the mystery pretty much ended there.
So it ended there. No one ever saw or heard from Gef again. There was never any other reports of mongooses on the Isle of Wight, talking, or I mean.
Yeah, mongooses. There were mongoose on the Isle of Man. Isle of Man, sorry. Isle of Man. Yeah, there were mongoose or mongooses there, but they were very rare at the time. They were hardly ever seen there. There were things like stoats and weasels and that sort of thing, but not many. Mongooses were very rare. So when one turned up, it was kind of a rarity, and to have one that was talking is even a bigger rarity, of course.
Is there any other instances that you know of animals like that turning up randomly and talking?
There have been.
Yeah.
There kind of have been in the sort of folklore, sort of dogs talking, cats talking, things like that through history. There are sort of, but it is quite rare. I think there was a talking horse at one stage, not Mr. Ed, but some other talking horse that was there. But yeah, when they sold that, they basically had to sell the house in the end after James, the father, he passed away.
Yep.
And so Margaret, the mother, and the Voiri, the daughter, they basically had to move out. They couldn't afford to stay there. And so they sold it. And because the house by then had a haunted reputation, because they'd got the press involved and made a big deal out of it, they couldn't sell it. So they had to basically give it away at a real cheap price just so that they can get away. And then the next owners that took on the farm made headlines when they shot a giant mongoose on the property.
Yeah.
And there are photographs of him holding it up by the tail. He was actually holding it up. He shot this giant mongoose, but it wasn't Gef. The family said that that's not Gef because it's way too big to be Gef. Gef was quite a small-sized creature. This creature was big and black and white, like a giant skunk or something, a giant badger or something.
You've been to the site. If we say, you're telling me the story there that the daughter was a good ventriloquist, but it was happening when she wasn't there. Like, you've been at the site, okay, the building's not there, but the landscape, I assume, would be similar to what it was back then because it's in the middle of nowhere. Is there any possibility that, around where the house was, that somebody could have been hiding and talking for this thing? Or I mean...
Yeah, it's possible that it was a prank somehow, but the farm itself is very isolated. It's up on a hill by itself. The nearest farmhouse is quite a long trek away. I mean, it took me 1.5 hours to trek up a hill to get to the house where the house was. There is actually a road that goes from the other end, but it's on somebody else's property, so nobody can go through that way. So the only way you can get to this property at the moment is up by climbing up a big hill, up a track.
And that was probably similar to then 1931, you'd imagine.
Now, they would have driven up the roadway that led up from the other side.
So the roadway was there in 1931. Okay, so it's still a lot of effort if it's in the middle of nowhere to go and prank someone, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they felt that the one theory was that back in those days, the walls were hollow, and they had little sort of hollow bits inside the wall casing. So it's thought that sound could actually travel quite easily through the insides of the walls. So you could make a sound through one part of the building and it would end up in the other part of the building. So there was that possibility. But yeah, if she wasn't around, or if she was there in front of them, obviously not making a sound and not doing anything, there was scratching and there was footsteps. There were there were footprints that were found. They found footprints, foot tracks, and they found hair samples as well. But under analysis, that ended up being dog. So,
when Harry Price was there, did he hear the voice?
I'm not too sure. I think he did hear. I think he did hear bits and pieces, and he heard things. He heard the scratching, the banging. He heard the growling. I think he did hear a little bit of talking, but he didn't actually see Gef at all. They caught glimpses of things moving, like there was shuffling and then you'd see something moving in the barn or something, or there'd be something, because Gef is thought to be a bit of a protector of the house. So he would, whenever there were rats and mice, that would come into the house, Gef would sort of basically assume the role of a cat, and he would just sort of try and, instead of killing them, it would try and scare them. It didn't like to kill. So it would scare the rats out of the house. And if they'd forgotten to put the fire out at night, Gef would go down and stop the stove, things like that. So he was quite helpful. He was very sort of very guard-like over the house.
Even if you discount the talking part of it, the mongoose could have done a lot of that stuff, in reality anyway.
Yes.
Hunting the mice and stuff. It's rather intriguing, the whole thing. This is Paranormal After Dark here on Rocket FM with the Roadie and Mark Wallbank. We'll be right back after this track.
Good evening. I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie
Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?
It's now the mash. It's now the monster mash. The monster mash. And it's a graveyard smash. It's now the mash. He brought on in a flash. It's now the mash. It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool. Drags a part of the band. And my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, the smash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them dead evil sent you. And you can mash. And you can monster mash. The monster mash.
Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
It's me, I'm here, I am the Roadie. That was Monster Mash, a great song originally done by Bobby Pickett back in 1962, covered beautifully there by Dead Evil out of Auckland. And we're back with Mark. Now, you know, I'm trying to get my head around this thing about it talking. So, Harry Price did it, this other guy did some investigation. Has anybody else tried to investigate the site? I know the house isn't there anymore. Has anyone tried, you know, the standard old, the EVPs and the Mel meters and all that stuff that some of the guys use? Has anyone ever done that you know of?
I don't know of any, but I'm sure that they have. It's kind of one of those things that I'm sure people have done these days. It's a bit of a trek to get there. First, you've got to get to the Isle of Man, and then you've got to make the trek up a hill. So it's kind of a... Yeah, I mean, I did it during the daytime, and it was a bit of a hefty trek. It's actually harder coming down at the end of the day because it's quite sloped and it's quite slippery as well.
Oh, right.
So it's quite a hefty trek, going up and coming down.
On that Isle of Man, is there any other paranormal occurrences around the place, things similar to that at all?
There were a couple of haunted sort of locations, and a couple of the cemeteries had stories of various things happening. But yeah, the Cashin's Gap with the Gef the Mongoose story was the one that attracted me to go to the Isle of Man. It was just a place that I thought, we've got to go. We've got to go while we're over there. We'll just stay a couple of nights and make the effort, and do it, and then it's done. So, but yeah, I'm sure people have been up there and done little investigations at some point.
And so the daughter, and obviously the wife's probably died. The daughter may or may not still be living, but I mean, has she ever come out in later life and said, it was me, or did they go to the grave maintaining it was a legit talking mongoose?
No, Voiri, the daughter, she died back in 2005, I think it was. But she maintained that it was not a fake, it was not a hoax. Right to the end, she was just, it was something that happened, and it left a big impact on the whole family. And she didn't stand up and say it was a hoax at all. So she's adamant it was a real thing.
So honestly, what do you make of it? I mean, do you think? I mean, it's just, I'm not doubting it, but a talking mongoose and it just disappears, and there's nothing ever on the Isle of Man again. I mean, we don't know much about the paranormal and why it happens or what it is, etc. But I don't know. Do you think it's odd that it just disappeared one day and there was nothing else, or I'm perplexed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's quite weird. Like the last word that Gef actually said before he disappeared, he basically looked at them and said, "Banished," and then he disappeared. So he basically yelled at them and said, "Banished," and then he disappeared. So it's it's well, I don't know. I like the idea of it, but again, I guess it's like gnomes and trolls and fairies and all that. It's a great idea, and I would be great if they could be real. But there is that sort of element of doubt that it's too good to be true. But having said that, I'm a big fan of cryptozoology and cryptids in general, and mysterious creatures like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster. So I have a deep belief that those things exist as well, and I like to think that they do exist.
In the folklore of this mongoose, just thinking about this, did anyone physically touch this mongoose? Like, did they pick it up? Did he climb on people? or was he just seen? Like, I'm going down the road of, was he just an apparition of a mongoose?
No, he's scratched them as well. He has scratched people.
Okay.
He has scratched, and yeah. So there is lots of physical evidence there. Well, a lot of stories. I mean, there are a lot of stories there.
Because, like, if it was a ghost or a spirit possessing a mongoose, right? Then okay, he says he's banished, so maybe that's the spirit's been banished. So why didn't the mongoose still be around, or someone still see the mongoose around, or was that big one the mongoose that grew big afterwards? Or, it's kind of intriguing, that whole side of it to me, the physical mongoose,
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. It's a weird one. I mean, there's a movie that came out recently called Nandor Fodor and the Talking Mongoose, and it's come out recently. It's quite good, but it has Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg plays the part of Nandor Fodor, the paranormal investigator that was called in by Harry Price, and he does quite a good job of it. But apparently, they took quite a few liberties in the story.
As you do with movies.
They said that Gef would go up and hide in a cave that was directly up on a hill, up in a mountain above the house. But there are no mountains above the house in reality. So, because I was looking, there are hills, but there are no mountains, and there are no big caves that I could see anywhere. So it's I don't know where that came from, but they did take a few liberties with the story as well. But I was quite surprised that they had quite a very skeptical approach to the movie. It came across very skeptical, very doubting, and and they made the Irving family look like shysters, like the husband James, the father. They sort of portrayed him as a bit of a showman, like a bit of a con man that was sort of wanting the attention, wanting the money, wanting the fame, that kind of thing. So whether that side of it was true or not, I don't know. It's hard to say what is truth and what is fiction at the moment with this.
Yeah, I guess with movies they have to have an angle or an entertainment value, so they add stuff to it, I guess. But it's certainly intriguing. Where is that movie available? It's not in the cinemas, is it?
It was in the cinemas, not over here though. But you can get it on. Well, I watched it as I think I watched it as a download or something. From a friend of a friend.
Yeah. It
is available. Now you can if you just Google it, you can find it out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can rent it, hire it, whatever.
Yeah.
Find it as a stream somewhere.
Okay. Well, that's very intriguing. So, just before we go tonight, any other talking animals that you know of like that in history that we should be interested in or hear the story about quickly? Like, do you know of any offhand?
Not at the top of my head, no. I'd have to do a bit of digging. There have been some.
Nothing like that in New Zealand's ever occurred that we know of?
Not talking. Not that I can think of right now, no.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that chat with Mark about Gef the Talking Mongoose. This has been Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie here on Rocket FM. I will see you next time with either Mark or another special guest as we talk all things paranormal. I'm not sure what the next episode will be about. However, stay tuned. Check out the Rocket Facebook page. It's Rocket Port Chalmers, I think, on Facebook. There will be an ad there when the next show's done, and it'll give you the airing time on here on Rocket. You can listen on FM and streaming online. So this is the Roadie signing off. See you next time. Here's Alice Cooper as usual to take us out.
Paranormal After Dark with the Roadie.
I live in the absence of light, and my shadow has life of its own, watching you while you sleep all alone. I'm condemned to the long, endless night, and I live